Viewers and listeners, welcome to the Carbone Lawyers Law Lab podcast series. My name's Tony Carbone. I'm managing partner at Carbone Lawyers. With me, I've got a specialist in compensation and also the head of personal injuries and litigation at Carbone Lawyers, John Carantis.
Hi,
G'day,
Tony.
John. How are you?
Hi, Tony. Hi, Stacey. Hi, viewers.
And an up-and-coming lawyer at Carbone Lawyers, Stacey Patsis. G'day, Stacey. How are you?
Hi, Tony. Hi, John.
Viewers, today we got an episode on transport accidents, what you got to look out for, what's important, and why you should consult a lawyer early in the piece.
Oh, yes. However, before we get to that, Tony, what's in the news?
What's in the news? We've got a couple of interesting cases, and one was this young beautician that was in a county court and lost her case.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the facts
Paulina
of that case, John.
Bitolis, Tony, a young lady, a young girl, that when she was approximately 16 years of age in a car accident, she's made a claim for lump sum compensation in Victoria, Tony. To access lump sum compensation, we have to lodge what's called a serious injury application.
Yes.
Basically, you're going to the court and to the Transport Accident Commission saying that as a result of the injuries I've sustained in a transport accident, I've suffered a serious injury.
Okay.
All you need is one body part.
Okay.
Not a aggregate of or a joining up of all the body parts, just one body part.
Okay.
Now, she's gone to court, to the county court, Tony, so spent thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyer fees preparing the case, got to the county court, and Her
Don't
Honour...
give us the result yet.
Her Honour Judge Tran of the County Court of Victoria considered all the evidence, Tony, and there was a lot of evidence, wasn't there?
Stacey, this particular lady was only 16 when she had her accident. She got to court at the age of 25, so 9 years. It's a long
correct.
time.
It's a very long time to be in court.
And I'll tell you what, I'd hate to think that we've got any cases that old.
No, we don't.
Because I'd like to knock them over sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But she had a lot of things working against her. And what were they, Stacey?
Correct. There was a lot of inconsistencies with her evidence. So in her affidavit, she had basically said that she couldn't stand for more than an hour. She couldn't work for more than a couple, hours a day. She was crying at the end of shifts. But unfortunately...
And she was a beautician, wasn't she?
And she was a beautician.
She was a beautician?
Yeah, so she was working long hours a day and she said that she couldn't do it.
But the Transport Accident Commission, they investigate these claims, don't they?
Correct.
Oh, and work safe.
WorkSafe, TAC, you've got to be very careful because there are investigators looking at you. And
Stacey, what type of investigation techniques do the TAC utilise?
So they actually have some people following you, tracking you, but most recently, social media. Facebook.
Oh, look, that was a killer in her case.
And that arose in this case, didn't
yes,
it?
We had
it did.
Facebook and Instagram. And one of the big punchlines was her trip to Thailand, wasn't it?
Trip to Thailand, skiing.
Yep.
Everything that she said she couldn't do, they caught her doing.
What'd she go to Thailand for, John?
Well, it looks like a nice holiday, Tony.
No, what'd she go to Thailand, Stacey? She went to get a breast augmentation.
Breast augmentation.
Oh, yes, and that too. But so is she an influencer?
She's
one of these influencers.
She's an influencer. So she had her profile on public, so everyone could see what she was doing.
She had 100,000 followers, John.
Really?
Yeah.
$100,000 100,000 followers on her
Instagram
page, and I think on her business page as well.
And what was the Instagram page showing?
Showing her trips to Thailand, skiing, being able to work
on boats,
and
luxury lifestyle.
And Stacey, this is what I want to say. This is critical. The problem with social media is that when someone gets on there, if they're injured or not, they're always going to embellish, and they're going to make out as though they're fine. The problem is, when they get their hands on that information and produce it to the court, a judge is not going to accept that you're trying to embellish because you don't want to go out there and say, I've got a sore back. And you will lose your case.
So we've got a situation when she's going to court saying, I have suffered a serious injury, serious consequences.
And I have difficulty doing this and this, and she's been contradicted.
And you need to show that you're suffering serious consequences.
Yes.
Debilitating consequences as a result of physical or psychological injuries.
Correct.
As a result of the transport accident. And the Instagram page showed a different life, didn't it?
So the court found against her.
Yes.
Because the judge said, or notwithstanding the fact that you've got a back injury, I believe it falls short of serious.
Correct. The consequences were not serious.
And that was because of what they saw on Facebook and Instagram, John.
And I guess the contradictions between her affidavit material, her evidence,
The videos and what was on
and what's
affidavit.
shown on Instagram and social media, and just goes to show, Tony, that people need to come to court with clean hands, Tony.
Of course. Actually, that's a good lesson for anyone that's got a case. Go and have a read of the evidence in this case and what you should not do.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Just be very careful that you might think that they're not watching, and you might not think that anything's going to affect it.
And
but
the reality
it might
is-
sneak up on you.
The reality is, John, you're going to have good and bad days, aren't you?
Look, always, but
Yeah.
we're talking about a serious injury application.
Of course.
The threshold is very high. It's not.
It
It's
is
just
high.
not a injury. You need to have a serious injury,
Which is a long-term impairment of the body
se-
function.
Exactly.
Which is permanent, but permanent means foreseeable future.
with serious, permanent
Yes,
consequences.
Yes. All right, let's keep moving. This young lady, guys, her husband was in a car accident or a partner, and he died. She then lodges a claim for mental and nervous shock with the Transport Accident Commission, and then when the time's right, she lodges an application for serious injury.
Yes.
Because she wants to sue the driver for her psychiatric condition. What happened, Stacey?
She lodged her serious injury with application with the TAC, and the TAC rejected the application on the basis that they thought her psychological injury was pre-existing and it had nothing to do with the death of her husband.
Okay.
John, the reality is,
Okay.
right, everyone's got some form of pre-existing psychiatric or psychological or some mental health issues, albeit of varying degrees.
Exactly.
But that doesn't preclude you from saying that
No.
I've got an aggravation or I've got a psychological condition of sorts that's different to the pre-existing or maybe an aggravation, correct?
Exactly. In this case, Tony, the threshold is very high. Again, you have to show that you're suffering from severe behavioural disturbance,
Yes.
from a nervous shock psychological condition. In her case, arising out of the knowledge of the death of her partner
Yes.
in a transport
Yes.
accident.
Yes.
It's a pretty tough test, isn't it?
Well, if she
Severe
satisfies
behavioural
that test, it doesn't matter if he was driving because you can still sue him.
It's irrelevant.
Because in Victoria, you're allowed to sue your partner.
Relevant. So, and this matter, I understand Stacey's going to court very soon in the County Court of Victoria.
Very soon. So she's appealed
determined.
the decision by way of an originating motion in the county court, and no determination has been made yet. It's still very new.
I guess what's important is that to show that something's serious, you really need treatment, don't you?
Yes.
If you're one of these stoic types that gets no treatment, and in her case, be psychological / psychiatric, and possibly medication, you should have none of that. Her chances are very, very significantly reduced.
the court will assess her current medical treatment, and will look at what the past medical
Yes.
treatment, if
Yes.
any, it was, and whether or not you're taking medication, you're seeing a psychiatrist, a psychologist, whether or not you can continue to work
How it's
or not
affected your
work,
day-to-day life.
how it's affected
Yep,
you
yep.
on a daily basis.
Well, if she succeeds and there's no loss of income, these claims usually assess it around 100 or just over for pain and suffering.
It's a pain
correct?
and suffering only claim. If she was working and had to stop work because of this injury, this claim, well, then there's a claim for economic loss, which could be worth a lot of money, Tony.
Yes, yes. Who can claim benefits under the Transport Accident Act, Stacey, in Victoria?
In Victoria, if you've been injured by way of an accident caused by the driving of a vehicle, you can claim compensation. If you're a pedestrian being hit by a vehicle, you can claim compensation. And also a cyclist. If you hit a parked car or if you've been hit by a car, you can also claim compensation in Victoria.
What about if you're on a tram?
If you-
Standing on a tram.
If you're on
And
a
you
tram,
fall down because of the tram movement.
yes, you can claim compensation. And a
train.
train,
Train, John.
by
Yes.
truck, tram, train, anything essentially of a motor vehicle.
Mind you, they made the change to cyclists running into the back of a car
Correct.
2 years ago.
Yes.
And that was on the back of a quadriplegic, John.
Yes.
Ran into the back of a car.
Case of Wilson,
No one's
yes.
fault but his, and now they're covered. Now, also, yeah, okay, that's Wilson. Let's get the facts of his case. What happened there?
Tony, on 9th of July 2014, Mr. Wilson was riding with his friends as a cyclist, and I think on the way back home, at the end of that little outing, he went. He was going back home, and he went into a stationary truck. Now, as a result of that, he became a paraplegic, severely injured, and became a paraplegic. Now, under the law of transport accident in Victoria back then in 2014, Tony, he was not entitled to any transport accident benefits because of the mere fact that it was a stationary truck, as in the engine was not turned on.
Okay.
After this came out, a lot of lawyers made representations to the Transport Accident Commission
Yep.
and to the government. And fortunately, the Labor government, Tony, changed the law.
Okay.
And allowed and made it retrospective
Yes.
to the date of this injury, as in the 9th of July 2014, that people injured in the circumstances of Mr. Wilson would be covered by transport
Geez, that's
accident
big, isn't
benefits.
it? Because at the end of the day,
Oh, yes.
medical treatment between now and, for as long as he lives, not to mention his loss of income, I mean, he'll get paid loss of income as well.
It'd be into the millions of dollars.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
There was also the change where if you were a cyclist and you actually hit a parked car, if you were travelling to and from employment, you could possibly claim.
Yes, you were
But
covered.
You were.
Yes.
But with Mr. Wilson, for example, he was riding for leisure, so that's why it wasn't
Just going home.
included. He was
Yeah.
going home. So with the new act, that's retrospective, they removed the clause that essentially you needed to be travelling to and from employment.
Yes.
So if you're riding for leisure and you hit a car, you're covered.
A lot of accidents happen where people open their car doors. And, John, that's a criminal offence now, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yes, you have the onus is on the driver to look out before you open the door.
If you as a driver park your car and you swing your door open and someone hits you, you're going to get it's going to be on your record. It's not just a fine, it's a criminal record.
Tony,
Now I'm very, very conscious.
Very careful.
as you can see, things in Melbourne and Victoria are changing. There's a lot more bike lanes.
Oh, yeah.
The CBD, every street now has been cut down from one lane, from two lanes to one lane,
yes.
to include a bicycle lane, which always looks a bit empty to me. But anyway, hopefully there'll be some cyclists one day on them.
Look, it's a matter of both parties, cyclists and car drivers respecting each
Oh
other.
yes,
Correct.
totally,
It's critical.
totally. And I think, in Sydney Road, Brunswick, there was a cyclist that died there a few years ago, in front of the McDonald's there. Again, that was from a dooring, Tony.
There's time limits on these cases. Stacey, there's some significant time limits, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. If you've been injured in a vehicle, make sure you get legal advice as soon as possible. You must lodge a claim within a year, and there is a strict 6-year limitation period from the date of accident to lodge
Well, John,
serious
it
injury
gets-
application.
Stacey,
Common
and John,
law
it gets worse
damages.
than that. If you haven't lodged your claim within a year, you can still lodge it up to 3 years, but that's at the discretion of a TAC, John.
Yes.
If you're outside 3 years without a primary claim, that is for
Possible.
treatment and loss of income or loss of income, then you might need surgery. You cannot go backwards. That's it.
It's impossible
strict.
to claim out.
No,
of 3
so
years.
I've seen a lot of those.
Tony, our advice to all our viewers and listeners is, after a transport accident, seek legal advice immediately from a lawyer that's expert in
You don't
TAC.
lose anything. I mean, bottom line, in this area of law, no one pays for advice unless at some point in time a case resolves.
No.
So
Correct.
what do you lose?
And make sure you ring up the TAC and make the claim.
That's it. That's it.
It's a phone call.
Of
It's-
course.
It is.
It's not a long form. It's simply a phone call.
And here
So
at
it takes
Carbone
very quick.
Lawyers, we're here to help. We can help you make that phone call if you
I
like.
mean, there's plenty of lawyers on deck, that's for sure.
Oh, yes.
Okay, look, Stacey, thanks for coming on board again as usual.
Thank you,
John,
Tony.
always a pleasure.
Thank you, John.
Pleasure.
Viewers and listeners, thanks for watching. Go to our social media platforms, go to YouTube, download our podcast series, and always remember to stay safe.
Don't say